Hey, Ishaan, thanks so much for hanging out with me. How about let's just start it off with tell me a little bit about you and your journey to the company, or just how the company was created.
Yeah, so my name's Ishaan. I graduated from college a couple years ago, 2 years ago. I went to the University of Illinois. I'm from Chicago. I grew up there, and my co-founder did too. We've been friends since childhood, and this was a problem. He was working at Meta, I was at Microsoft, and this was a problem that we had faced from different angles. We were using agents like Claude Code and Cursor a lot. My co-founder was actually one of the really early users of Claude Code, like before it was really popular. And he hated having to stay at his desk. He felt like he was having to babysit his terminal. He was chained to the command line. So for him, he really wanted some way that he could leave his desk and continue working. And that's where Omnara was born. This is actually like his idea, and he told me about it, and I was like, I don't know about that, Kartik. I haven't started using Claude Code yet. And then once I did start using, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this makes complete sense. I'm totally with you. Yeah.
And is this something only for Claude Code, or is it for other agents as well?
So this works with other agents. We work with N8N now, and we're expanding into other agents. The truth is that like agents are still pretty early. A lot of businesses haven't. They're like catching up with agents. They've started using some automations. So we started with who are the people using agents, and those are technical people. Uh, they're the early adopters of agents. So we started with Claude Code, and now that we're talking to companies, we're doing N8N, and we're gonna expand to even we have a SDK now for custom agents. So we'll just keep going from there.
That's awesome. Um, I mean, before kind of going forward, like I feel like there's some confusion of like what is an agent, and then there's like agentic, and I think people kind of get confused. So I'd love to kind of like, what is your take on what is an agent?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's definitely a word that gets used around a lot. At least in AI and the context of AI, an agent is something that perceives the environment and then takes actions to achieve a goal. So it can really mean a lot of different things. It's something that observes what's going on. Uh, it's kind of like a robot in that sense. The way I like to think of it is really like something that so you have an LLM call, like when you use ChatGPT, it's just a solid LLM call. But if you have it invoking tools, like for example, if it's going to read your code base or search the web or take on some other additional actions, then I call it an agent. Uh, so it is a pretty loose term, um, but hopefully that provides some more context.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like the hot terms. I remember like I was talking with someone. They're like, "Oh, the agentic. That's not agent. It's an agentic workflow." And I'm like, what's the difference?" And so I had to like look it up. I'm like, okay. So at least my understanding, there's like kind of like regular automation. It's like if this happens, then do that, or something like that. If it's 7 a.m., then send the email. And I feel like an agent version of that is like if 7 a.m., it still does what I want it to do, but it adds almost like an LLM or some type of agent AI call. So it's like at 7 a.m., I want you to generate a song from Suno and then a image from Midjourney and then an LLM call, a large language model like ChatGPT, call with the user's name and create something for them and then email to them. Like that, I still use AI, but I don't have to sit there and go to three different websites and like try to get the thing and then put it in the email and then hit send on the email. It just does it for me. And then that's like agent. So it's still kind of doing what I want it to do, but it's doing a lot of like AI stuff. And then there's like agentic, which I think a lot of people associate with MCP's Model Context Protocol, which essentially is like the AI decides what to do. So it's like at 7 a.m. or 5 p.m., whatever, it just decides on its own what
Yeah,
time it should send, what should it send the song, should it send the email, what should it say. And that's more like agentic, where the AI is making the decision of what it wants to do.
Yeah, yeah, these terms, it's very hard to pinpoint exactly what it's just um agentic is like an adjective, I guess, so it's like kind of describing how something behaves, if you know what I mean? So it's like um yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Like an example of an agent is like I think one example I heard the other day was somebody was talking about like support tickets. So like an
Uh,
agent will like read a support ticket and then it can like look up relevant documentation and then it can like create some sort of like an example response and then have a human approve it and then maybe send it off somewhere else. So that's like an example like that could be like a real world example of like what an agent is. You gave an example just now of like it gets me my favorite content and then it inboxes me. Um, and but I guess the difference between an agent and an automation is that an automation is deterministic, like send me an email at 7 p.m. But then an agent is like, it's making an LLM call or it's doing some sort of non-deterministic operation, and then giving you feedback from that.
yeah, I think that's what's interesting. I mean, that's how we first met, is that you had a post about, I think it was Zapier's CEO, who said basically there was like, I think like this idea of agentic. I mean, I think the broader point was, I think people love to jump on new terms like agentic workflow, AI agents, and like we got to implement it. And I feel like a lot of these business leaders don't have a full understanding of what it is. And that I think that's like the equivalent of saying, let's bring on this super, super smart intern. And it's like, I mean, they are super smart, but no, 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 let him start doing everything. And like, they don't even know how our company works. It's like, no, 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 just let him decide.
Yeah,
And then the result isn't good. And they're like, oh, this intern sucks. And they throw it away. It's like, wait a minute. No, no, no. What if we start off the intern doing something that we're already doing and kind of get some
yeah,
cost savings there and time savings there? And then over time, as we generate more data, we're like, and we learn how to work with the intern, then we figure out other places where it's like, oh, let's insert them here and there. But I think like the challenge with integrating agents is, I think number one, like the definition of people just have a wide variety of understanding of what an agent is, and also number two is like this shiny object syndrome. It's like people look at this as shiny object, they're like, this is going to solve all of our problems. And in truth, I think AI can solve a lot of the problems, but I think you have to know when and where to use it, and when it
yeah.
and it's harder than you think to implement. And so I want to kind of like talk about that. Like, yesterday we were talking a little bit about like kind of what works well integrating agents and like what is not working so well, and you got to be careful. So I'd love to kind of hear from that or hear about that from you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, First of all, completely right. It's totally buzzword soup right now with that. Yeah, but uh, look, like I think that there are certain tasks that agents are really good at. There's certain tasks that, for example, like document ingestion is something that I've talked to people about a lot. It's like we've had OCR forever, just being able to parse a document. It's just being rebranded as an agent now, and being interoperability with like internal APIs, and bam, you have an agent there. Um, and look, yeah, I mean, I get how that's appealing and why businesses are doing that. A lot of these issues are not that. So everybody's building. That was part of the Zapier post. Like everybody's building the sexy, autonomous
Yeah,
product,
yeah,
which is like it's like AGI. Like they're thinking that it's something that'll solve all their problems. Like
yeah,
what you're talking about. But really, when you start talking to businesses, like they're just like, oh, I have this really complex procurement funnel.
yeah,
And it's like, oh, okay, well, how is it complex? And it's like, oh, I have 6 different spreadsheets and I have like 13 different steps and it takes a support engineer 2 hours to do each task. And then you're like, okay, so like how do you solve that? And then it's like, okay, well, um, we have to parse Excel sheets and then we have to put it in uh, some sort of like storage and then we have to cross-check that with something. So these are not sexy problems, you
Yes.
know? And I
Yes.
think that that was like I like that post like really tapped into that frustration, I think, or just like that insight that what real businesses want, like automating payroll, like let's say AGI does come. I mean, like all these newer technology. I mean, that's the problem that you have as a business has a mission critical operation that they need to get done, you know? So I think, and then we talk about MCP. MCP is a super flashy protocol. Everybody talks about MCP. A bunch of people in the batch talk about in this YC batch. And yeah, I get it. It's a super sexy. It gives, it's super, it's like a very powerful technology, but businesses in the actually are not using MCP. I mean, they really aren't. Like I've talked to so many businesses now and I've asked them, have you even heard of MCP? Forget like using it, and they haven't. They have no idea what it is. So, um, I think this is where there's that disconnect between maybe it's a Silicon Valley thing, but there is a disconnect between what engineers are building and what they think the problems are and what like businesses actually have, and that disconnect has just been growing. Um,
Yeah,
and I
I mean,
think
I
that
think it's a
post got
historic
that.
problem. Oh, sorry, it's a
Yeah.
historic problem of you know, being focused on the solution. It's like, hey, we got a solution. Technologically, it's a really cool protocol. It's like, wow, it can allow LLMs to use tools and connect with each other and whatever. And it's almost sometimes it's like a solution looking for a problem. Whereas, like you said, the real people, they're just like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. I just need to get
Yeah.
my payroll done because I'm spending hours on this and I can't even talk about the company strategy because I'm doing stupid payroll.
Yeah. 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 I think this is what we're trying to solve with Omnara. We're not building another, like, the whole point is not to have some flashy agent framework, but it's something to help you monitor, intervene in real time, especially with these high stake workflows. That's what we're moving towards now. And it's like, yeah, I think that I think that I've been on calls with people and I've said, hey, like when we were starting out, I was like, we're going to guarantee X amount of reliability out of your agent. And
Uh,
now I'm realizing, like, I used to say even like, we'll make sure you'll never have hallucinations. That was a ridiculous thing. I don't know why I
boom,
used to say that. That's
boom.
impossible. You could never have an agent or AI like work 100% of the time. You know what I mean? Obviously, right? Like, and that only backfired making claims like that. So really, what we realized with Amnar is instead of like, because we'll never get there. I mean, what we can do instead is at least have humans jump in when it is the right time. You
Yeah,
know?
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about human in the loop because here's another thing that I feel like people jump to like, oh my gosh, AI is gonna with five-person company. So you're at Y Combinator. I forgot to mention that. Congratulations. The most
Thanks.
exclusive startup accelerator in the world. Um, but I think it's like, oh, look, you have this amazing, technology, that's great, but it's like, oh, okay. Got it. Like, what are you going to do with it? And it's like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I heard that at Y Combinator, there are teams of like two, three people doing the work of 100. So I think this is
Yeah.
going to replace all my workers. I don't need any of them. And I think this is kind of where the hype takes people off and makes like kind
Yeah.
of bad business decisions, where it's
Yeah.
like, I think the more thoughtful approach is let's analyze our workflows. This is the ideal situation. Let's analyze our workflows, figure out which one is like has a huge potential, and then it's like what's the biggest problem. Then you kind of overlay that with what is the capabilities of AI today, and then it's like okay, this one is the most painful. This is almost 100% automatable, and it's not even AI. It's like automation. Great, done. This one is
Yeah.
like 50% AI, 50% human in the loop. So, but still, it saves you 50% of your time. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what the heck? Like, why aren't we getting excited about that?
So I'm so glad you brought this up because we always hear the stories of the 5-person company doing the work of 50. That I think that gets thrown out a lot. That narrative gets. The reality
Especially from
is
YC.
that
Especially from YC.
yeah, no, dude. I mean, completely. I think that there's a number of companies in the batch betting on that too. They're building. I think it's over half the batches building vertically integrated agents, something like 60%. So look, like what we found though is that the most successful teams are not trying to replace humans, they're trying to elevate them. And that's really
Mm,
where we lean into. With Omnara, like you can run your agent autonomously until like let's say it hits some confidence threshold, it's a flagged event or it's something risky, then we bring a human in.
mm,
And I, so yeah, I'm more of a AI. So there's like AI, what is it? Doomers and boomers is the
yeah,
phrase I've heard people say. Um, Look, like I think there's a lot of AI doomerism that gets thrown around too,
yeah,
that they're going to replace all your jobs.
yeah,
That AI is really taking over, and that is like a fear type thing that gets attention and gets headlines. You see the CEO of was it Dario Met, CEO of Anthropic,
and drop
says
it,
that in
yeah,
6
yeah,
months, uh, some crazy amount of people are going to get replaced. That a lot of that stuff is getting headlines because
yeah,
there's no evidence to back up any. Nobody knows. Nobody can say with the precision or certainty that X amount of people will get replaced by X amount of time. You know, so it's just like these claims are really unbased,
mm,
and that's not actually how it's playing. If anything, people are getting more efficient. Maybe we get to a point in society where people are working 20 hours a week or 30 hours a week instead of working 40-hour work weeks.
mm,
You know, when you look at industrialization, what happened with we're not farmers anymore, for
yeah,
example.
yeah,
When we were farmers, we had much longer work weeks,
yeah,
right? As humans, and then eventually with industrialization and all of that, we came down to 5 day. We have this 40-hour work week, and that was good. That made the economy more efficient for everybody.
mm,
Um, so yeah, people go back and forth about is AI different than that? Is it the same? And I'm a bit more of an AI boomerist. I really think that it'll help all of us. It'll
yeah.
level up society. It'll make society more efficient. Um, Sorry, I completely went in a different direction there,
No, totally.
but
Hey,
yeah,
bro, this is how we do it. Or this is how I do it.
yeah,
I just follow the conversation. Like, I
yeah,
think this makes me think about like, but there is kind of not a counterpoint to that, but I think there's like a word of caution. Like,
mm,
Elon Musk, like, one of the reasons he started OpenAI was because he felt like it could go in the wrong direction. And so like,
yeah,
I don't know the exact quote, but he said something like, the future doesn't just happen. Like there are people who are really committed and who want to shape the future. And so they work like extremely hard. And I think with AI, like, that's actually one of the things, or at least as I thought a lot about AI and kind of creating products and what type of AI and what type of future do we want? Like you said, I mean, it's I feel like it's two destinies that we can go to. Like if they're the doomers or
yeah,
whatever, they're like, I think if people are like, I'm gonna automate people away, like that is what I'm trying to do. And there is a startup, I think, in the Bay Area that is kind of focused on that. Like we are trying to automate away jobs, like get rid of them.
yeah, yeah,
Um, if you have, I think it's more of a mindset thing. Like if you have that kind of mindset, then you're gonna keep looking for solving problems in that fashion. But I think on the flip side, like what you said, it's like I want to elevate people. Like, what are you doing today? Like I remember at my last startup, it was in Mountain View actually. It's called Neotax. Um, One of the things I was worried about because we were working on automating business taxes. So I'm like, oh,
yeah,
CPAs are
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
hate us. And I
yeah,
talked with one CPA who was like kind of elevated, and he's like, hey, you can automate this stuff. You're gonna automate my job away. Please do it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, the day-to-day mundane stuff, like I
yeah,
hate doing it. It takes up so much
yeah,
of my time. Like I'm literally on Excel. I feel like a coding monkey. I'm just like doing this for
mm,
hours and hours. And I'm like, well, why do you do that? He's like, I have to. I
yeah,
have to do that. Once I get the data, then I can do the things that I really want to do, which is like tax strategy and more creative aspect
yeah,
and stuff like that. And I'm like, I had no clue, but I think that same framework applies to almost like every job.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, completely. I think you're spot on with that. Yeah, there's so many examples of this. Like people basically these businesses, for example, you gave the I think it was you said taxes that person was doing,
Yep.
right? Yeah, taxes, accounting. We keep hearing this again and again, it's not like they necessarily, these people want to be replaced. It's
Uh,
that they just want to stop doing this robotic work like you're talking about. They want to
yes,
start doing valuable work. And
yes,
yeah, again, like that's actually a big part of how we're positioning Omnara. It's like we are not this end-to-end black box like
yeah,
some LLM. We're a system that gives people leverage without locking them out. So
yeah.
when that CPA does hit that decision point, like, wait, should I defer this? They can jump in, they can approve, they can redirect. So you end up saving time, and you don't lose agency though. You get to work on the things that are important to you. Um, yeah, yeah. I think it's really something to think about. Like, does the market really want this autopilot fantasy that we keep talking
Yes.
about, or do they just want the ability to unlock more potential out of their like employees and be able to push more and get more work done?
I think there may be a sequencing problem. I think that they do want the autopilot, but they need to trust it. And honestly, LLMs are not at the point right now where they can just run wild. And a big term is context engineering. Like you have to give the right context. But hey, by the way, like this is just like the same thing for any human being, right? Like if
Mm,
any new employee comes to your company, no matter how smart they are, very smart executives will come in, and what do? They won't break down the door and try to like, we're gonna automate everything. Like, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. What they do is they say, I want to understand your company. I want to understand what you're doing, and I'm gonna start observing and making, points of like, I think I'd like to change this, but I'm gonna first ask. Like, and so this like
yeah.
human in the loop part that you bring up, I think that's why it's so important because the assumption is that just because they're super intelligent, it's not super intelligent about my company and my customers. I
Yeah.
am. I'm the super intelligent one as of right now. And then I think as you go forward, like with the human in the loop, over time you can get more data, and you can have a system that improves over time, and then it can take on more and more, which is, by the way, just like what
Yeah.
a human does.
Yeah. 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 I think that's exactly why we're focused on letting humans guide the agent, not just, trust it blindly. I mean, a good example is just like an agent drafting an email or drafting some sort of response to something, but then the
Yes.
human gives the thumbs up in the end
Yes.
before it goes out. That little checkpoint makes a huge difference. And, yeah, we call it real time oversight. It's really just like building a layer to make it dead simple. Um, and yeah, that's what we've done with Claude Code. We've done it with N8N, and now we're doing it with any other agent you're using. I just think that it's just not talked enough about. I think human in the loop is going to become way more relevant, in the years to come. Yeah.
I think that is actually like a key insight because I think people are focusing on really the automation piece, but I think the UX of when do you bring in a human in the loop? How do you bring in the human in the loop? When the agent comes to the human, what type of context does it provide? What types of questions does it ask? Like that, there's a lot of like complexity there, and I think there's a lot of
Mm,
that's where maybe the innovation should be focused on, as opposed to like let's try to all these APIs and automations and stuff. But we're coming up on
yeah.
time, so let me
Yeah.
get two things from you. Number
Cool.
one, if so I'm meeting a lot of business leaders, so kind of do me a
Yeah.
favor, talk to my ICP. Their business leaders,
Mm.
they feel behind the ball. They're like, oh shoot, should I integrate agents or whatever? If there's like one thing you can tell them, like I'm like, you're like, hey, you're on the phone call. I'm like, I'm gonna tell you this one thing. What would that be?
Oh, wow. Um, I think there's a huge opportunity here to help people get the balance right, to help people use agents where they shine and use human checkpoints, but with human checkpoints baked in. And I think that's exactly what we're building at Omnara. And yeah, I think that I'm excited to be a part of that future.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Second thing, when people watch this
Yeah.
podcast, they're like, hey, I want to support Ishaan. I like the way he's thinking about AI. How can they find you? How can they help you?
Yeah, so yeah, we're live, omnara.com. Check us out, sign up, and we're open source. We have a GitHub. We're on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and yeah, also on Twitter. I have a Twitter. I can share all that. Yeah, that's all my information.
Perfect. Hey, Sean, thanks so much for spending time. I know you have YC demo day coming up very soon, and that's why we kept it short today.
Uh,
But uh, I really appreciate it. I think there's a lot of misinformation and just confusion, to be honest. And
yeah.
I think they need more people like you who will kind of help them really like, I don't want to just talk about the hype. I really want to help your business succeed. So, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Sam.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Peace.